Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays for everyone who celebrates. We're back here, and I have an interesting video. Best part about this video is if you don't feel like listening to the spiel on each player, this shortlist on MLS Targets for 2024 will be live whenever you see us. It is private right now, but I will make it public whenever the video posts. So basically, the idea of this video is we're just going into situations that could happen, and we're kind of staying away from all the crazy rumors type of guys that just don't really seem like it. So we're not really taking too many long shots here. A lot of these guys are on sets. A lot of these guys are in positive situations, but there are, it says here, 114 players. So I'm not going to touch on every single one of them. I'll talk about a couple situations, but again, this short list will be in the description. So if you want to just go to that and check it out for yourself, by all means. So we're going to start with Atlanta. I do kind of have them mostly in order, and then I added people back. Originally, I didn't have GG in there, Giacomakis, but he's going to be the goal scorer. He doesn't put up a ton of AA, but in limited minutes, his scoring was undeniable. As far as Thiago Almada, he's gone, in my full opinion. I just don't see him coming back. He is going to be a January move, so that kind of changes things up. So twofold with that. So you see Nicholas Firmino. He signed a deal. He was really good in the MLS Next Pro last year. And then you have Brooks Lennon, who I want to just talk about as well. So if you look at the sets for Brooks Lennon, if you take Almada out, he is probably going to be on a decent amount. Like, is he going to get the share of corners, or is Saba going to get those? Is he going to take more? Is it going to be strictly side to side? That is to be considered. But on free kicks, Thiago Almada was the guy on free kicks. So I think Lennon has a really good chance of taking some of those, unless they sign some other people. But again, Almada's gone. And also here, Nicholas Firmino, he could get the shot. They could move some people around and, instead of him starting out. But I do think that when he gets cards, as you can see here, he doesn't have any cards. When he gets cards, he could be interesting. If you look at Firmino, he had 16 goals and 6 assists in 27 MLS Next Pro. They really like the kid. They signed him through 2026. So he is very interesting for that Atlanta offense. The attack looks pretty good. Franco Ibarra, we don't really know if he's going to be in the plans. You would think he would be. But again, roster construction, things like that. Interesting. So that's what I just wanted to talk about Atlanta a little bit. Austin made today. It depends when you're watching it, but today, as of recording, they made an interesting decision to get Steph Cleveland, which I thought he was going to go somewhere where he would start. So before updating this depth chart, Stuver is already there. He is the starter. But this Damian Loss, he's very interesting. He's a high upside guy. Are they going to move him? He was the MLS Next Pro keeper. He was at the All-Star game doing the goalie wars, which is awesome to see. But Steph Cleveland, he's not going to be a starter. I thought he was going to leave Seattle to be a starter, and frankly, I'm super surprised on this move. Are they either going to move Damian Loss for like a trade bait type of thing, or is this hey, we're going to sign Stephen Cleveland, then we're going to use him as, trade bait? That doesn't make sense either, because it's confusing. I'm not really sure what Austin's doing there, but to be fair, it is what it is. Brad Stuver I have on here, especially that L15. Yeah, his L5 is 52, his L15 being 38. Cap mode, I was looking at super rares, but look at his price. And one thing with these prices, they're up. I thought we had a little bit more time, but from the beginning of December to now, prices in MLS are up. That's not great for someone who hasn't bought any MLS, and I was kind of waiting a little bit, but it's kind of making me decide on who exactly I want and not make a bunch of rash decisions. I'd rather wait for things to play out instead of getting burned, similar to last year. But if you go for them, Rigoni's interesting, but okay, they got Obrion coming in from FC Dallas. Ethan Finley's still there, so that, they're kind of interchangeable. Rigoni just hasn't been very good. If you look at his L15, he's more of a cap mode player without a ton of AA. Kolmanic is coming off injury. Again, if you look at the depth chart, they let go of the backups. So they have Gallagher and Kolmanic, and that's about it. It's at this moment. So again, these can change drastically. Again, I went with the center backs as well. Danny Pereira's on his way out. He's got interest from everywhere, it seems like. So I didn't include him. But Cascante is interesting as well there. So that's kind of in a nutshell there. I did put Vicenen in there as well. Low cap guys. Do I think Austin was a little overhyped? Yeah, looking back, obviously, yeah. They had a tremendous year prior and then, just fell short. I didn't put Driussi on here, just price wise, and him being goal dependent kind of left him off for me. So, yeah, I kind of passed on him. Colorado. It just Connor Ronan. That's kind of all it is. Is if we go to sets here, Ronan was on 53% of the free kicks, the L15, 90% of corners. He's all in on corners. Bassett took the other ones. If you go back to L40, he has 121 corners. He's going to be the guy that's putting in those set pieces. So if there's any part of Colorado, which is usually a dumpster fire, but they're making some interesting moves, to say the least. Miguel Navarro coming over to Chicago. They signed Omir Fernandez from Red Bull New York, but I don't know. They took the loan to buy option for Rafael Navarro. Interesting pieces for sure, but I don't know. It's for me, it's Connor Ronan or bust. So I do like him. He's a little bit higher of his L15, but you're going to have that floor of his AA taking all set pieces pretty much unless someone comes in. So that's good. Columbus, I put Diego Rossi. And at this moment, that's the only one, just because there's a lot of things going on with them. I do like him. Cucho Hernandez, I didn't list because I do think there is a significant risk of him leaving. I think his level is tremendous. Could he leave MLS? Absolutely. So he's one of the ones that I didn't put on here just because of that issue. Let's jump into Cincy. So Barriel's probably gone. He has a lot of links, and he's not coming back. They did put out a feeler for Kai Wagner. It doesn't look like he's going to stick. But again, we can see different things. Lucha Acosta is there. So, yeah, you feel pretty comfortable about him. He's one of the superstars that you just know he's going to be back. I just would be absolutely shocked if he leaves. He signed that new deal. So, Bupenza, whenever he gets cards, he could be interesting because Verena Vasquez will be gone. Most likely in the January window. So, Bupenza, he's going to be the goal-scoring threat for Cincinnati. Cincinnati's still going to be okay. I don't think they'll be as elite as last year, of course, unless they make some signings. But, yeah. We'll go to Trippin' Bees, Charlotte. I think Ashley Westwood is the piece that, if I'm really looking at that team, I love his set-piece involvement. I like his floor. I think for cap modes, he's a great card. I am kind of dipping at least I've tried to dip into Cap 240 Super Rare. I haven't bought anyone, but he's on my short list for that. I will say that I want him as my midfielder, and I'm looking at guys that have that high floor, so that at least you might not get those 80, 90s, but you're looking at that like 50 average, and that's kind of what you need. DC, bit of a dumpster fire, new coach, so same thing. I'm going with sets. A lot of these targets are going to be guys that are on sets. Guys that have like a monopoly of sets, if you will. So, Klitsch, yeah, same kind of thing. If we go over to DC, same kind of thing. 79% of corners and 71% of our last 40. Eric Davis is gone. You look at some of the guys they brought in, but he's still going to be on sets. Benteke is very goal dependent. He doesn't get any AA really. And he is somewhat interesting as an option to pair with him, but I'm not loving DC until I see more of him, especially the new coach. A lot of these teams are getting new coaches too, Charlotte as well, so that is why I left a few guys off. Houston, looks like Corey Baird's gone, so he unfollowed Houston on Twitter, so he's pretty much gone in my opinion. Bassi, whenever he gets cards, he's going to be an interesting card for sure. Hector Herrera was unbelievable. I know he's pretty expensive, but he's unbelievable. Great card, and he's only going to get more comfortable in the MLS, honestly. It's just kind of that first year in the MLS. I'll talk about it again with another guy. It's daunting. Steve Clark's back. Yeah, you feel fine with him. He had a great season, especially at home. And then I went with a defender, He's under 23 right now, so a little bit higher on the price, but it's only $45. It's Mikal. Uh, he's just solid, right? He's just solid. Um, Aliu Ibrahim is a high upside guy. So my thinking on him and his price kind of, if you look at the limited, like if you pay $1 for his limited, that's great. But his rare is, I mean, that 111 floor, yeah, no, not a chance. But around that $50 floor, it's not the worst kind of high upside as far as if he does get the starts with Baird gone as that striker, he could get some goals, but he has had some starts, but they do like his upside. So that's a guy that's an upside play that I didn't want to have too many of those, but he's a guy that could really break out this season. Artur, again, in the midfield beside Herrera, just solid. He's getting a little up there, the L15, but he's just been steady all year. LAFC, move on to them. Just too many things going on. Buanga has the League One rumors, so I'm going to stick away from him. They're losing a lot of turnover there. So if we take a look at their current depth chart, and I did put Buanga on there, but man, there's a lot of holes. So the kind of spots that I like is Bogusz stepping up. Kellen Acosta's gone, and there is that role coming up. He is very versatile. And if you look at sets, if Bouanga is gone as well, I mean, he might be on free kicks as well, but he is kind of the second highest, and he wasn't even starting down the stretch. So with Carlos Vela maybe not coming back, you have a little bit of built-in upside with Bogusz coming in there. So at his price, it's a little bit steep, but it's a guy that should slide right in there. And at least at the limited level for under $4, you can't really go wrong with just taking a shot at him. He is under 23. That does kind of go with his price. And his L15 of 49, but his L5 is 38. So it will come down. So it might be a nice little cap mode player at the beginning of the season. And Ryan Hollingshead was just unbelievable. So I did have to include him in here. He's in his last year of his deal next year. So yeah, he's just a stud, and he was just putting up ridiculous scores. Palacios on the other side, Hollingshead took over the high scoring for those. So yeah, had to include him. LA Galaxy, where do they go from here? Chicharito's gone. They were hampered by injuries bad. Ricky Puig, it just starts with him. It ends with him. He's the guy you want to have. As far as pricing, it's not the worst, like compared to, this time last year. His card, yeah, he's aging out of under 23, but I think he's one of the best midfielders, and he can have some elite scores. So I do really like him. Just from a watching perspective, he's probably my favorite player in the MLS to watch. And I do own his card, full transparency. But his card has won me the most rewards, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I guess I'm Brugman. He's a set piece guy that was injured, so that L 15 of 59, 13% of games played. That was due to injury. He will come back, slide in there. That's another guy that he was really good whenever he was in there. And then, the injury bug hit him and the rest. Let's go to Inter Miami. There's a lot of kind of who's going to start, who's not going to. Messi's on here. Like, if you're going to get a card and you're going to spend up for a card, might as well be the GOAT. I don't really have to say anything on him. He's going to smash. I'm excited to see him as a full year, not as a Philadelphia Union fan, but it's good for the game having him in the league and all of his cronies. So I did list a few of them. Solid scorers. They're going to be a good team, so they're solid. Calendar I was going to list on here, but there are some rumors of Galaxy coming over. Lukewarm rumors, so I just stayed away from there. Minnesota's interesting, very interesting. Reynoso, is he going to come in the winter and actually be there at the start? You really hope so. As far as him, he's a stud. If you're trying to get some studs on your teams, and the only kind of like caveat with that is just he missed a ton of time last season, but whenever he came back, he was good. Timu Puki, his first full season, he might really settle in, and I think he will bag a lot more goals than he did. Although he did absolutely smash a few games, but he was kind of underwhelming for the team. Bongi, Halaguane, he's solid. It's just that attacking combination is great. When Tapias at defense, He's an L15 guy. He's more of a value guy. He's under $1 for limited. He's a value guy that's interesting. Dane St. Clair, another L15 that is low. Another guy that's interesting. Again, in the MLS, let's be fully honest. If you aren't at home, you're probably not going to smash. If you have some of these guys, especially like, let's say you're playing Cat 240 limited, rare, whatever it is, if you can kind of have a home grouping each time, you're likely going to hit your threshold. And especially goalies at home, yeah, you might concede. It's always in the cards, but like Houston at home, Steve Clark was a cheat code. So that's always a solid shout. And then Robin Laud, coming off an injury. I know his L15's 55, but he is coming back. And he's interesting. I don't know if he's going to have a full starting spot right out of the gate, but he has the quality to get in there. He was a big role before. He could slide into the central mid. You can play right mid. You can play cam, but Reynoso is going to be there. So interesting, but again, just kind of a dart throw for a guy that's coming back in from injury. All right, Montreal. Choinier is kind of the guy that I'm looking at. Sirois, I have to mention it. He's one of the best under 23s, and that L15 is very, very tasty, especially for a team that is at home. One thing with Montreal, they always start out with a bunch of road games. So what I would do is I would wait on the Montreal guys. I believe it's 6 in a row. At least it was last year, I believe. Something in that range. 6 away games in a row. Their L15s will drop. And then maybe like the game before they come back to that home. Whenever they start to turn it around like they did last season. I think that's a really good shout that I might be looking into, especially with like Choinier coming down. And I did put Waterman in there as a Sirois, kind of. He's the highest scorer out of the D, and he could be interesting. New England Revolution, Carlos Hill, he's the guy. If you want a stud, I know I talked about Ricky Puig being my favorite. Carlos Hill is probably he's right up there. I think he can have like a Lucho Acosta type year. I think the attack is better. If Rioni could be anything, I have him on here. I don't feel great about him, but I do think he supplants Bobby Wood as like the clear-cut starter unless I bring someone in. Excuse me. Shanksakle, never say his name, coming in. He will definitely help out that attack. And then I put a couple guys that are injured. So be careful. Barrero coming back from injury. Brandon Bai coming back from injury. They are both out for a while. So it says 311 for Brandon Bai coming back. And unknown, but should be, in that realm. It was pretty early in the season. But them coming back, you'll have to give them some matches to get in. But they're guys that'll have a 0 L15. You just hope they come off the bench for a couple to keep that down. And DeJuan Jones, I really like him as a key playmaker out the back. And maybe if he gets some U.S. caps in competitions that don't matter. So he was at the Gold Cup. And we'll just kind of move on from there. Nashville. Joe Willis in the Panico situation. You might as well buy them both if you're going to buy either. I do think Willis starts. I think Panico is not really his time unless Joe Willis kind of loses it. Hani Mukhtar is the guy you want. Daniel Lovitz is interesting because he does have some set piece ability and he's not too overly priced. At that super rare, I was hoping he'd be a little bit lower than that last public sale. Again, floor prices are up for MLS, but if I could get him for like 200, I'd be very happy about maybe sliding him into a lineup or two. Shaq Moore on the other side. The right back, interesting, and then Walker Zimmerman. The other center back position, Lucas McNaughton and Jack Mayer. They are kind of neck and neck. One was injured, the other one played type of thing. So I'm staying away from those two. New York City FC, you'll see I have a bunch of players here. Can they be as bad as last year? Sure, they could be. But they have a lot of talent. No one's going to ever deny that. It's just, can they put it together? You look at some of these guys, a lot of them under 23. Keaton Parks, not one of those. He is very solid. He doesn't have the upside, but he is very solid. Zell 15 is very cap worthy, and he's a cap mode guy that I've used in the past. I sold his card last year. I'm probably going to get it back to play a little cap. And if his super rare is around, not where that 1400 floor is, I would be interested in there. Matt Freese should be the goalie. Barraza should be on the bench. Freese played well. So you got to kind of consider him at that price just because he's good. He's looked good. He's from the Philadelphia Union. They did trade him. He's been behind Andre Blake. He looked good. I do think, and Barraza did not look good last year. So on the eye test, Freeze is the starter. Julian Fernandez, I think in his full season, he joined late last year. He's young. He is talented. Talis Magno had a horrific year. He can't be worse. Hopefully they play him in that left mid, left wing role and not striker, as it just doesn't make sense. Whenever they got Bakrar, he was playing that left wing role. He was off the bench and then started the last couple games. But his L15, I'm looking forward to that. I hope he can get back to what he was, because he just doesn't have any confidence, and it's sad to see a guy that absolutely tore up the league whenever Tati Castellanos was there. It's just a shame. Sandro Rodriguez is a stud. Tivon Gray, very solid. In the back, Tiago Martins and Burke Risa as the center backs. On to Orlando City. So Orlando City, Pedro Galiz is solid goalkeeper. Arujo, Jansen, and Facundo Torres. So Pereira's gone. Duncan McGuire has rumors, but they're not going to loan him out. They will sell him maybe if a good offer comes in. So a little bit of a concern there for Duncan McGuire, especially if he goes over to Europe, and unless he goes in the championship and starts smashing. But I don't know. I'm staying away from that situation. My Philadelphia Union. So a lot of uncertainty, and Kai Wagner being, offer on the table, but he is a free agent. He's making a decision after Christmas, so hopefully somehow he comes back. I would be real bummed if he doesn't, but we move on. Jack McGlynn, I will put a little note on him. He does have European interest. He is 20, but he is good. He is the real deal. Seeing him in person play, he just kind of commands the ball very well. He moves it around. That's one card that I wish I already have, and I will be buying on auction whenever his next one comes up, most likely, as soon as I get some funds on there. Harriel, he should be a starter. Mbaizo on the other side has some issues with his his family getting visas and getting into the United States, so that's always an issue. You got Gazdag on the back line. He's on all penalties, so what was he, 14 for 14 I think last year. Andre Blake, and then your center backs of Elliott and Glesnes. What I will say is I wouldn't be surprised if they go three in the back with Damian Lowe. So you can kind of think about Damian Lowe as well, but it's just kind of which games they're going to play the three in the back, which are they going to play the usual 4-1-2-1-2. So that's interesting as well for my take on my Philadelphia Union. I know this is a little bit longer video, but we're getting there. Evander, I don't have an Evander yet. I'm really looking forward to picking one up. As far as my midfielders, I have more MLS midfielders than I do in Europe. So right now in Europe, I'm struggling to field teams because I don't have enough midfielders. I feel like I have too many, but Evander fits the mold. So every time someone comes over with a lot of hype, they struggle with the travel, with just, everything's different in the MLS. Second year, players take off. I know other people have talked about him, which I wish everyone would just be quiet, and I've been waiting for a good price. That 133 is a good price, but now his floor is up to 172. I was hoping around the 100 range I could snag one, but I think Evander's going to have a great year. You can play a little bit in cap. 55 is not the worst to start, but you can see his L5. It will change a little bit, but Santi Moreno, he seems like he's sticking around. He's interesting. And Claudio Bravo, as a cheap option, he was horrible last year, but the year before he was a great card. So interesting for sure. Red Bull New York, I don't know. Forsberg, I'm not sold on him being this crazy scorer. I think he'll be solid. I just don't think he'll be a crazy scorer in the MLS as maybe some people think. I think he'll be solid though. Edelman, as a young guy, he got a contract extension, so that's interesting. Van Zier coming back again, first year in the MLS, injury bug, terrible. At that current price, not worth it. But I was thinking, as a limited, $2.50 isn't the worst thing for a striker that should bag some goals this year. Luquinas, interesting. I don't love it, but he was a solid scorer. And Frankie Amaya, same kind of thing. Solid AA, solid scorer. And then there's your Forsberg, that he's got to be included just because he's interesting in the MLS. But again, first year coming over, maybe not adjust as well, but I think he'll be solid. RSL is interesting as well. Again, MLS with having 29 teams, it is easily the toughest to kind of just get lost with so many teams, so many different players. So as far as RSL, Ojeda was a great scorer. Um, there he is. Pablo Ruiz is coming back from injury. He's a guy that's on sets and is just phenomenal. He moves the ball around the field. He is the heart and soul of the team. So if his price stays down around where it is, I'll probably pick one up. Just, again, another midfielder I like. Surprise, surprise. But I do want to load up on MLS cards and really just try and dominate or compete with some of the great MLS guys on Sorare. Severino, he has his issues with, not going to away games, things like that. Luna was a stud. He is on a lot of radars, but I don't think he'll move this year by any means. I think he's maybe a year away. But his second half of the season after coming back from the Under-20 World Cup, he was unbelievable. Justin Glad, low L15, 45, makes him interesting. Chicho Arango, he's going to score goals. He's the main guy up top. And McMath is the keeper. Yeah, he had his Israel rumors. He's staying, as far as I know. Gavin Beavers is behind him. Beavers will get a few games again, but I am pretty confident in McMath. And for his price, he's one of the cheaper MLS goalies. And Vera takes some sets, so he takes some free kicks. Interesting as a center back, but he is also a left back. So we'll get to Seattle. So you notice I have a ton of Seattle players on here. My favorite of the bunch is Rusnak. I will say that on record. Again, another midfielder I like. Surprise, surprise. I really like him. I think he's going to take a nice role, and he's going to take a lot of sets this year. So Fry's coming back. That's great. For Fry holders, his price has jumped up, as you can see there, now that the news. But again, he could have retired. We never knew that. Christian Roldan's interesting. João Paulo was great. Great AA. The back line, solid, especially at home. I mean, at Lumen Field, phenomenal. Jordan Morris, I think you can kind of get a goal here, goal there from there. Out of all these guys, I don't love him, but if you're looking for a forward, he's interesting. And if you're going to play a stack, he's probably going to be the forward that you're going to get. Alex Roldan at right back, and Anuhu Tolo is a stud. I love him as a capped guy. Really solid and fun to watch. So much energy. Almost getting to the end here. I know it's almost like a half an hour video so far. Shallowy for Sporting Kansas City is interesting. The left winger. You got Russell on the other side. It's a nice attack. Polito, striker. Eric Tommy is the guy that I want to talk about a little bit, though. With Gatti Kinda, that kind of threat of him who's going to start between them. They're a little bit more attacking roles. Shallowy takes sets. Tommy takes some of them as well. But he can be very interesting, and for that price, not the worst thing in the world for a cap mode player. Fontas as the center back. I was going to go Danny Rosero, but I think Fontas scores just a little bit better than him. San Jose, Nathan's gone, which is a huge surprise. Rodriguez was re-signed. His L15 is really high, so can't really recommend fully, if you're going for that cap mode. But he is a stud at center back. He scores really well. Bobase, interesting for sure. Daniel and net, I think he's one of the safer positions as far as goalies. He's not going to lose that job. Marcin Kalski's out for like another, 7-8 months, maybe less. And it's his job. He's not going to miss matches. It's just his job. Espinoza was unbelievable last year. He is a part of everything. He has a complete monopoly on sets. You can't really get past San Jose without him. Jackson Yole's more the AA guy that's just solid. He's not going to have that upside performance. And Paul Marie, as of now, looks like to be a starter. And that L15 of 35 looks really solid. They don't, we might as well just let's pull up that depth chart. If you look here, they don't have a left back on the roster. Akapo's there. Traucau is gone. So that's who they're talking about. Tanner Beeson can play a little bit of left back, but he's not a true left back. Right now he's going to start. So take this with a grain of salt because they will sign people. The roster's too open to not sign people. The interesting kind of thing I'm looking here is Tsikaris. I always botch his name, but Nico Tsikaris. He's a young kid. Jamiro Montero's gone. That opens up the door for him. I would love to see him get some burn and get some time. He is 18 years old. His L15 is low. If he can, if they don't sign anyone, that's kind of what you're fading. Signing someone and, Cade Cowell rumors of him leaving, they're always there. But Nico could be an interesting guy that really, if I'm really bummed that I missed that $31 price, just because if you want to just kind of go after it and just hold and hope that it happens. If not, maybe the next year, again, you don't want to hold for a whole year, but he is going to be a guy that does break out eventually. Last two. I didn't put any Toronto FC. There's too many things going on there. I didn't like any players. But last two teams on here. St. Louis. Leuven. He's on all sets. He's the guy. Klaus. He scored well whenever he scored, but that L15 put him back into consideration for me for sure. As a forward, you need forwards, and cat mode, yeah, he could probably pop in a goal, especially a nice home matchup. He's probably going to score. Injury bug killed him last year after a hot start, so it'll be interesting to see what he does this year. And on the back line, Tim Parker, he's interesting for sure. As just like a veteran back there that for a rare of $22, that's crazy. That's awesome. But again, they are solid at home. At City Park, they're a phenomenal team. And that brings us to our last one. We're finally here. Thanks for stopping in with another YouTube video. I will get more content on here. It's tough. I do a lot of the side content that's more writing and things like that than actually doing this. As you can see from like all my depth charts and stuff, the off-season work, it never stops. So very interesting to kind of put all this together and then really digest it. So that's what this watch list is. So our last team is Vancouver. Great at home. Interesting. They have CONCACAF Champions Cup. So they will have a little bit of utility there. Takioka, he is in that like Daniel-esque. He is the starter for sure. Kubas, interesting in that central mid defensive role. Ryan Gauld was unbelievable last year. Unbelievable. And Brian White, as a forward, he was just so solid last year. Another guy that is impressive, and I feel like if I'm making a short list, he has to be on it. So, again, this is going to be in the link in the description. So I know I was a little bit lengthy on this, but I did want to touch on everyone on this list just about. And again, if you follow this, Sorare data is phenomenal. Can't really do anything that I do without it. So this little auctions, here's what I've been doing. I've been going to super rare. Again, I haven't bought any yet, but right now we have Tommy, Hollingshead, and Brioni. I've been looking. Is there anything that's going like, I have a budget. I just am not pulling the trigger yet. So you can do that for any card. Rare, again, but it's great for the short lists. I'm sure almost everyone of you know that, but just in case you didn't, huge feature here. And again, you can go through prices, price evolution of that. You can go through stats, everything's sortable. So thank you for joining me. Again, appreciate it. I know it's been a little bit between videos. YouTube, I will come back to a little bit. Twitch streams, they'll come back whenever the season starts. I know it's been a while for that, but yeah, a lot of good things coming. I am glad for the break from what it's been. But I am ready for the MLS season to get back, start with friendlies, things like that. So the grind never stops. Hopefully you check back in with me next time, and happy holidays, everybody.